How is it that Volo seems to know absolutely everything about the olden Hisui days? He knows everything about the Arceus plates, the ancient hero, where Miss Kogita and the ancient retreat are, and he knows everything there is to know about Giratina, despite the fact that the statue has been destroyed and the history erased. There are a lot of questions, but there are also answers and Pokemon theories. Hey Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here, and just the other day, Phoebe finally finished playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. I had finished playing it twice at that point and had taken so many notes for the Easter eggs video, which by the way, thank you for checking that out, and of course for Pokemon theories, and I just started talking at her. Phoebe, did you notice this? Phoebe, did you notice this? Phoebe, did you notice this? Did you see this theory happening? And she was just looking at me like, that's not in the game, dude. And she's not the only one. I've been on Discord a lot this last couple of weeks with Hybrid Hero and Hoops and Hip Hop, just sharing theory ideas and checking notes with each other like we're a proper little Hisui research team. And actually, as a result, there are at least 3 videos out today, right now, all theories that we've contributed in together. Kind of a call to action that if you are a Pokemon theorist and you've seen some stuff that you think is particularly interesting in Pokemon Legends Arceus, maybe now is your time to make a video. But the first thing that came out of my mouth when talking to these friends of mine or to Phoebe, the first thing I knew I had to make a video on is this exact topic. The first question I had for all of them was, you realize Volo's a time traveler, right? This is your last chance for Legends Arceus spoilers, okay? 3, 2, 1, Volo. Volo as a character represents a trope in fiction that I love, the mischievous one, the one that doesn't possibly seem to be a threat, actually wielding a god-like power. In this game, he pretends to be a humble merchant, but is actually in possession of Giratina and has ulterior motives. But why? Where did Volo come from? Why is Volo interested in any of this stuff? And why is Volo dressed like this in this really cool outfit at the end of the game? In a battle that, by the way, oh Pokemon, please do more battles like this. This was just phenomenal. I wasn't ready. On second playthrough, even then I was like losing. Well, the answer can be found with Volo's initial introduction to you, saying hello, testing your strength with just a little Togepi, which I suspect is a different Togepi to the Togekiss that he has at the end of the game. Volo is just checking you out because you, like him, are a time traveler and he wants to get to the bottom of the secrets of Arceus. But Volo isn't from the future like you, and neither is he from the modern day, and by modern day I am referring to the events of Pokemon Legends Arceus in this context, and for the rest of the video when I say modern day, I mean the story that we played, not Diamond and Pearl. He's not from the modern day and he's not from the future like you. Volo is from the past. This explains a lot about how he knows so much. He has information about the Arceus plates that he just shouldn't have. He's very interested in the ruins and relics of the region. And he mentions that the blood of the Old Sinnoh people run through his veins, and he's very right, it does, because he is literally one of those people. See, we know for a fact, and speculation about his relationship to Luzamine and other characters aside, we know that Volo and Kogita are both relatives, ancestors of Cynthia, the modern day champion. There's no way Volo isn't related to Cynthia and is entirely related to someone else. His team is exactly the same as Cynthia's, minus an Arcanine. But here we encounter a really weird phenomenon. Kogita and Volo don't really know each other that well. Kogita refers to Volo as being a fool and a mischievous person and doesn't really talk about him as if he's like her grandson or anything like that. They never speak in a familial way. Volo doesn't introduce Kogita as, hey, this is like my grandmother. They barely seem to be friends. Kogita just keeps herself to herself, staying in the ancient retreat, a location that isn't one of the main 5 locations and is known only by Kogita and Volo. The ancient retreat is interesting because this is the area that I believe will one day become Celestic Town. Based on the location of the map, it makes a lot of sense, and I know you're thinking, hang on, what about the Celestica ruins? That actually becomes Eterna City based on its positioning on the map, north of the Wayward Cave, south of the peak of Mount Cornet. And of course we see the connection between the Dialga Palkia statues there and the Dialga Palkia statue that we see in Eterna City. Eterna just means eternal. It was the first city, but the first town was actually the ancient retreat that one day becomes Celestic Town, that gets its name from Celestica, representing the people of the region who worshipped Dialga and Palkia. So the timeline of events here, in the future we have Cynthia in Celestic Town and her family have lived in that area, the ancient retreat, since the modern day with Kogita. But before that there were, according to Kogita and to Volo, the ancient Sinnoh people. These people likely lived in that area and built the Celestica ruins a millennia or two ago, 1 to 2,000 years ago. That is when the origins of our story, the ancient hero who had 10 Pokemon, and the Arceus plate all kind of began. It seems to be that this is the point in Pokemon history where humans first made contact with Arceus. And those people, the ancient Sinnoh people, according to the hero's notes that we can find littered throughout the Hisui region, actually had traveled to Hisui from down in Sinjo, where the Sinnoh people were born, which implies that they actually originally came from Johto. And that makes a lot of sense because in modern day Celestic Town, there is a shrine that is just like the Celebi shrine, and in the ancient retreat, the color of Miss Kogita's house, it's all this green jade color. Might be connected. Obviously, Cynthia's family is kind of widely known as being a dragon clan as well, and in the north of Johto, there is a dragon clan, and there's all sorts of old theories about the Draconids being people that migrated around and sealed away Regigigas in the temple. It's likely that there was some ancient dragon clan that came up from Johto, up through Sinjo, and there they discovered, they learned something. They learned of a creature that they called the Almighty Sinnoh. They learned about Arceus for the first time, and they called it the Almighty Sinnoh, and they moved north and found the Hisui region. There they learned more about Dialga and Palkia and Giratina, and they built statues to these creatures. This is happening a millennia or two ago, 1 to 2,000 years ago, which, by the way, not to be mistaken with 3,000 years ago with the Darkest Day and the Infinity Weapon. Legends Arceus does not happen 1,000 years ago, it's a couple hundred years ago. That is something I will get into in a future video, but there's sadly no way it can be 1,000 years ago. Anyway, a millennia or two ago, these Sinnoh people who worship the Almighty Sinnoh make their way up into Hisui. They build these ruins, they settle in the ancient retreat, and actually they build ruins and locations all over the Hisui region. We see outside the Send-Off Spring, which is where you catch Giratina, that there are the pillars that are much like the pillars that we see on Spear Pillar. That architecture appears in a lot of locations, actually especially it appears around some of the noble Pokemon sites, and each of those sites is signified by a little baby Gible statue. Which Gible, kind of a signature Pokemon of Volo and Cynthia and, you know, in theory, Celestic Town in general. Lots of things tying together. So these people, a millennia or two ago, they're just chilling out and worshipping Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, trying to learn more. And the three Pokemon are considered as equals, but below the Almighty Arceus. And then one member of that tribe, Volo, rebels. Hunts down and finds Giratina and turns Giratina against Dialga and Palkia, causing the opening of the first space-time distortion. This is why in the present day, Laventon mentions that they already have a word for the space-time distortion because it's happened before, it happened back then. And much like is happening now with you being pulled from the future and plonked into the timeline, back then, a hero was taken from the future and plonked into the timeline, and there is a theory over on Hybrid's channel right now about how that hero is older from the Unova games. I'm not going to get into that, but a hero capable of wielding 10 Pokemon, 10 noble Pokemon, found the Almighty Sinnoh, Arceus. And with it and Arceus's powers shared in the form of plates was able to stop Giratina, locking it away in the world on the reverse side of ours, where according to its Pokédex entries, it has been lying in wait. And Volo was defeated, but Volo escaped through the space-time distortion. If people can come from the future back in time, why can't they come forward? This actually hugely explains Volo's style of dress in this kind of ancient Greek aesthetic that matches the Temple of Sinnoh that was then built by those people. It's because he is of those people, quite literally. Volo escaped into the modern day, and there's evidence of this as well, because he, much like you, the player character, washed up on the shores of Hisui, but not on Prelude Beach like you do, but instead into the Coalboat coastlands. The coastlands, specifically the Ginkgo Landing, an area that's oddly named because we don't see a presence of the Ginkgo Guild there, but I suspect this is where he was able to blend in and become a merchant. At this point in time, he locates the ancient retreat and finds the last of his civilization that used to be there, Miss Kogita, because we know from the hero's notes that are scattered across Hisui that the people of Celestica, those people, after everything happened with the hero and Arceus, they left and kept traveling the world. Most of them did anyway. We can also infer that this is when the Giratina statue was destroyed to kind of hide the history and make sure no one went again to seek out Giratina. And then, over time, as we learn from these notes, more people came to the Hisui region, and they claimed the title of being the Celestica people for themselves. But with an incomplete history and not enough people there to explain what the Almighty Sinnoh was all about, they factioned off and created the Diamond and the Pearl clans. So Volo is searching for pieces of history, and it's at this point that he learns of you, a time traveler who has come through the space-time rift. He wants to question you, he wants to know all about you. He's actually already at this point met Ingo, who is another time traveler, and we know that there are time travelers that arrived in Hisui before the player character, because Ingo's there, and I'm pretty sure he arrives before you do. But Ingo's mind is wiped, so he's no use to Volo, but your mind, you vaguely remember meeting Arceus, and Volo follows you around on your quest. He sees your Arc phone and knows that you have some connection to the creature, and as you start unlocking all of the Arceus plates, he makes plans and heads to the Colboat coastlands. Because out that way is the Send-Off Spring, the Turnback Cave where Giratina resides, and he accesses Giratina, and this is actually referenced in the story. They mentioned that just before the Lord Arcanine is washed away by the waves, strange shadows have been appearing across the coastlands. These, of course, are the shadows of Giratina, being reawakened and resummoned by Volo, and it may be the case that those very waves were caused by that Volo awakening Giratina directly resulted in Lord Arcanine's death, and that could explain why Volo has an Arcanine on his team, just like a little nod to that. Or, I don't know, if you want to get really speculative, the Distortion world is said to have connections to the Ghost Realm of Pokemon, with Giratina being the first ghost, and what do you know, just off the shore of the Sendback Spring, we actually witness a ghost Pokemon in the game that isn't a regular ghost, and that's the Arcanine that appears. Perhaps this is because of the fragileness of the dimensions, but that's all very, very speculative. The point is, at this time, Volo is hiding their true strength. They already have their full team. They're not evolving a Gibble up into a Garchomp. They've already accessed Giratina, and they follow you around and point you in the correct direction, making sure that they are as involved as they can be at the event Spear Pillar. But at the end of the game, you stop Volo, and he comments on the fact that it feels like you were spat out just to mess with him, just like the hero of old did. And where this theory all comes together for me is the final comment that Volo makes. Dressed in the attire of his people from 2,000 years ago, on the temple that was made to laugh at his failure and worship the god that he couldn't meet, Volo says, "I'll be back. I'll get my revenge. I don't care whether it takes years, decades, or even centuries." And that's because Volo has already waited for centuries.
But Toby, if Volo is a villain from a millennia or two ago, then who exactly is the hero? How could he wield 10 different Pokemon? And was he a time traveler too? That's what I just got done covering over on my channel, so be sure to check that out.
Yeah, admittedly, there is a lot more ground to cover with Legends Arceus, and there are things that I didn't even touch on in this video, like the Veilstone myth, and the fact that the Veilstone cape is just below Giratina's cave, and there's all sorts of other elements. Right now, as I've said, the community is buzzing, and all of these theories have become available on the exact same day right now. So go jump into the world of Pokemon theory crafting, and if you're really thinking like I'd like to make some Pokemon theories myself, hop on over to the Fuji's Lab Discord server linked in the description, where it's all for Pokemon theories and submitting your ideas and thoughts. People will listen to you and give you feedback. Maybe you'll come up with the next big theory, or better yet, make a video of your own. I can't wait to share more theories about Hisui with you, and of course, so hi Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.
Thank you to my Patreons who allow me to do channel relaunches like this, and a special shout out to the big patrons of this month, Jet Dive, Jedruben, Michael Hornschuch, and PokeBliss. Thank you.